Hi guys, welcome to Simply Scuba. Here we have the Seac Pro HD boot. So this is a tough-soled boot. It's nice and thick. Let's take a closer look. Okay, first of all, let's get 60 seconds on the clock for a quick review. We are looking at the Seac Pro HD boot. So this is a 6mm thick boot, so this is great for sort of colder water diving, if you're diving in a wetsuit. But what makes this different about a lot of others is that it has a solid sole. So this is almost sort of verging on sort of hiking kind of sole, big tread, and it's much more solid compared to a standard sort of neoprene wetsuit boot. So yeah, if you're going anywhere that's going over sort of rough terrain, anything sort of particularly sharp and you don't want to damage your feet, then this is going to protect them because it's nice and solid. It does still have some flex, so it's not going to be uncomfortable, but yeah, if you're going over rough terrain and you want a kind of tougher boot that you can dive in, then this is definitely worth looking at. Okay, so that's a quick sort of run through. Let's take a closer look at all of the Pro HD's little features. Okay, so this is how it's going to turn up. So it turns up in a plastic bag, so naughty Seac. Although that might change. A lot of the brands are actually switching from this style of packaging to something a bit more eco-friendly. So this is likely to change. But then on the inside, so obviously you get a pair of boots, because why would you get one? So yes, so the boot itself, what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to take this cardboard packaging out, so I actually feel the inside. So this is a hard sole pair of boots. So it's almost like a sort of pair of hiking boots in that sort of bottom sole, because they're much more rigid compared to a traditional soft sole boot. They've got a decent amount of tread. So this is really designed for sort of going over rough terrain to get to the dive site and then going diving. Or if you find that you tend to get cramp and you don't need your foot to kind of bend and flex quite as much, then this is going to help your sort of foot keep its shape. So taking a closer look at it, so the neoprene itself is 6mm thick, so this is a thicker boot, so this is going to keep you so that little bit warmer, especially your feet. I tend to find that it doesn't really matter how thick your sort of boot gets, you never get like hot feet for whatever reason, but they're noticeably longer than sort of others, so this is making sure that you get plenty of overlap between your wetsuit and your boot, so you don't have any exposed areas and it really does slow water from sort of getting in. The opening is a zippered closure, and we have this big tab which basically stops that zipper from undoing when it's done up, so you never have to worry about that sort of flappy boot syndrome. Velcro just to get underneath that, and then zippered opening, big long zipper goes all the way down, and then you've got this gusset underneath of thin neoprene. Again, that's just stopping water from getting straight in. On the inside, it's just a traditional lining. I can feel some stitching, so this is double blind lock stitching. So we've got a line of stitching on the inside. You've got a separate line of stitching on the inside and the outside, sorry. So whilst you've got stitching on both sides, none of them actually meet, so there's no sort of channel for the water to get all the way through, and that will be glued as well. So yeah, you do have a stitch on the inside. It's not particularly rough, so it shouldn't sort of rub too bad sort of against your feet. On the front, we have this protection area, so this is protecting the boot from the usual wear and tear of the foot pocket of your fins, and it also adds a bit of grip, so it holds the fin in position, so it's not kind of moving around whilst it's on your boot. The sole itself, so this goes up really high around your foot in some places, so it's going to feel a bit more like a sort of a trainer, and you've got a really sort of tough material. This is very strong. It does flex a little bit, so it's not going to be uncomfortable, but yeah, a decent amount of tread. And this is really if you're going in over sort of rocky terrain to get into the water, it's going to protect your feet from anything sort of getting through and being uncomfortable. On the back, more of this sort of reinforced material, again adding a bit of grip for your fin strap, and then this big notch which is going to again stop that fin strap from slipping down, but then you've got the big old sort of heel section as well that's just going to help sort of keep that fin strap in position. So all in all, a very sort of big tough boot, but who's it for? Okay, so who's the Pro HD for? So as I said earlier, it's very much for people who are diving in remote locations, or they're diving in areas where you have to go over quite sort of horrible terrain just to get to the dive site, and you're going to be wearing your neoprene boots. So this is going to protect the undersole of your foot. And it's also if you just prefer a hard sole boot. Some people prefer a soft sole boot, so it feels a bit more like a sock, whereas others prefer something that feels a bit more like a shoe. 6mm thick is sort of plenty thick for sort of summer, autumn, probably the spring as well, just to keep your feet nice and warm. But you can also sort of dive this in tropical climates if you want. It's that kind of all over. You're never going to get a hot foot in the water. You might get some unusual tan lines, but that's the life of a scuba diver. And that's the Seac Pro HD boot, a nice tough boot with a solid sole, which is suitable for pretty much anybody. So if you're looking at a piece of dive equipment and you want to see one of these videos on it but you cannot find it, then just ask the manufacturer, see if they can send a sample over to us at Simply Scuba, and of course we'll try to make one of these videos for it. And if you are the manufacturer and you've been looking at these videos, you want us to do something on your piece of kit, then by all means look down in the description below. There's an address that you can send any samples to, and yeah, as soon as we receive them, we'll make one of these videos so that people know whether or not to buy it. Thank you for watching, and safe diving. We are an online dive store serving the UK and the world for all your diving equipment needs. So why not visit us at simplyscuba.com or click the box on your screen.